Yo, what is up guys, Beach Banana here, and today we're playing some PUBG, but not actually. This time I'm going to be showing you my settings and what I have exactly written down in terms of controls, in terms of settings, in terms of graphics and stuff like that. So let's get right into it. In the basics section, I have aim assist on usually, like probably 90% of the time. With the iPhone, since the screen is smaller, sometimes I'm not able to see like my last 10 shots if people are far away, and so aim assist helps a little bit with that. Sometimes it messes you up though, so you have to kind of, you know, gauge it, see if it's right for you. Blocked sight warnings, I have this enabled. It doesn't really matter too much. Bolt action rifle and crossbow firing, I have that tapping. Shotgun firing mode, tapping. I've never played with the release. If you guys started out playing with the release type, then that's what you're used to. And then peek and fire, I have this enabled. I know a lot of Chinese pros don't really peek too much, but I do like peeking when you know, you just have hard cover and it's just a slight peek. Sometimes it's more advantageous to full peek, but you know, you also have to gauge that, and I'll probably be making videos on that as well. Anyways, I have peek and open scope disabled. Now, when I was playing on the iPad, I had this enabled, and I was able to super quickly just spam shots, and it was amazing. However, close range, when you peeked, it would scope in, right? The peek and open scope. And so that would mess me up sometimes because people would be jumping, they would be going all over the place, and I would just not be able to track as well as doing hip firing. As you saw in my last highlight video, all of those in that 1v4 situation on Miramar, that was all hip fire, and if I accidentally scoped in, that would have been bad. Scope mode, I have that on tap as well. Display left side button, I have that on always on. Gyroscope, I have this always on, and that's what gets me to aim properly. That's basically when I transferred over from the iPad over to the iPhone, I turned full gyroscope all the way up. I know you guys have been asking me, how do I get started when or how do I get started playing full gyro? And I recommend just starting out, but starting out with the lower sensitivities, keep on ramping it up till you're comfortable, kind of with other sensitivities as well. But I highly recommend just trying it out, like maybe for 3 days. Probably the first day you'll definitely hate it, but you'll get used to it, and I feel like it's very beneficial, especially with a smaller device. So let's see, auto open doors, I have this disabled. It's kind of self-explanatory. I don't really want to, if I'm using the door as cover and I'm behind it and I'm doing some jukes, then auto open doors would kind of mess me up. Play emotes, have that on. Heal and prompt, definitely disable this. You do not want this on at all, because when you're at the very end of the circle, or if your teammates all died and you have what, 5 medkits and people are running in, you're gonna gain so many more placement points if you just survive a little bit, like 15 seconds longer. There it's a possibility that 3 or 4 teams, if it's a huge lobby in a tournament, that 3 or 4 teams that are running in are gonna die, and you healing to a higher placement is going to be more beneficial than just running in and dying as well. So healing prompt, definitely disable that in order to heal your way a lot easier. Sometimes it messes you up, and I've seen people mess it up quite some time. Jump and climb, I have this combined. This also is kind of different. I feel like if you start out separate, it's more beneficial because you just have more options. If you do separate it, basically your jump and climb button will be different. So sometimes if you are next to a boulder or like a wall or something, you might accidentally jump or climb over it if you have it combined, which I sometimes do, but I haven't gotten there to separate the buttons, and I might do that in the future. Anyways, the damage effect, I have this on green. I kind of change it back and forth, and it really doesn't matter. Some people say that the green effect is it's easier to see the person behind the blood. Anyways, I have 97 FOV. I've been changing this from 90 to 103, but 97 I feel like is it's in the sweet spot. 103 is just too much in close range. Gyroscope, I would have to practice with it, but I like 97. And 90, it's a little bit too scoped in. Alright guys, so the graphics, I have this on smooth and extreme. Now, in my highlights, it looks a lot better than smooth and extreme, but that's mainly because I'm using different editors, and I'm using Vegas Pro to edit my content. And so I have filters, I have motion blur in there, making it look all nice and fancy. But trust me, I play on the smooth and extreme format. This gives you the best performance. And then I have colorful. I just like colorful. There really isn't a preference. People play on movie, soft, realistic. Most people though play on colorful. Anti-aliasing, I have this disabled, and I've gotten very used to it. Now, anti-aliasing, basically what it means is that if you're looking at a wall in the distance, that wall will be a lot smoother than without anti-aliasing on. So things just look a little bit more choppy farther away if you have it off, and I kind of like it that way because if someone's peeking from a window, it's a little bit more obvious, I'd say, in order to see that person from that window. Like, I'm talking about very small pixels, like 4 to 5, maybe a little bit more than that. But it's very incremental. Also, if you have this enabled, it does increase your it messes up your battery, so it takes more power and it lags you down quite a bit sometimes, especially with like blown up cars that are smoking and far objects. It just gets it gets laggy. So I have that turned off. Anyways, non-standard screen, notched. I play on an iPhone, so you see that notch. And auto adjust the graphics, I have that disabled. Also, you do not want to have that on, so I have it disabled. Now into my settings, I keep TPP and FPP pretty similar. I don't know why they like separated the two for HUD, which is the heads up display. And this is my HUD. Feel free to copy it. I'll leave. I actually have the settings or the HUDs down in the description for my iPad as well as my iPhone, but this is my current one. Actually, let me take a picture of it. I'll update the description. But basically, I have my thumbstick on the bottom left. I play claw, and so this is primarily how I play. If you've seen my other videos, I think claw or 5 finger, 6 finger. If you add more than 4 fingers, then with an iPhone, it might get too cramped. I'm not sure, I haven't tested it yet, but I really like 4. It's pretty comfortable for me, and I've gotten used to it. But I have my scoping on the left side. Whoops. I have all my scopes and stuff on the left side, crouching and proning on the left, and then I have just shooting on the right. And there was a huge like one-shot glitch in the past, so I just like to keep the shooting in one general area. Reload, jumping, the menu options, scopes, and changing all of that stuff is on my right. And then I have healing and changing weapons on the bottom with my map up on the top right. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the controls. My vehicles, I just have the standard buttons. Alright guys, now let's get into the sensitivities that I use. So right off the bat, I have camera sensitivity free look at around 120. Now this is the eyeball that you use to look around when you're running in a direction. I use it mainly when I'm either running through an open field and just want to see my surroundings, if anybody's peeking at me, and if I am in the open surroundings, then I kind of have to shoot back. But the next sensitivity that goes down is the camera. So under camera settings, these are the settings that I use, and this sensitivity basically adjusts how you move with your fingers on your screen. So if you're scoped in, this is the sensitivities for all of the different scopes. So the second section is ADS sensitivity, and this one's very important because it's the sensitivity whenever you're shooting. It doesn't matter what scope you're using, or if you're not even using a scope. If you're shooting, it's going to be taken in that ADS sensitivity and portraying it out. So even if you're scoping in, it's basically whenever you're shooting and you're using your aiming, not gyroscope, but straight your thumbs or whatever finger you use to aim. Anyways, I have these as my settings. You can copy this. ADS sensitivity really only affects me when I'm either just looking around with my scope, and you know, for gyroscope, I use gyroscope more than I use my ADS sensitivity. But anyways, let's get into the gyroscope sensitivity. So as you can see, everything's cranked up to the max. So third person scope and first person scope, I have it set to 300, and that is why it looks kind of, you know, shaky. But I've gotten used to it, especially close range. That 300 is so important, and especially with other devices like the Note 9 that we played for ESL, the gyroscope's a little less sensitive, and that kind of threw me off, and I had to kind of learn it that way. But anyways, we have it set to 300 third person, 300 first person. For my red dot, I have it slightly tuned down to 272, and this is mainly because when cars are driving by, it's a little bit harder to shoot with higher sensitivity, so I have it tuned down just a little bit, but I'm pretty stable, as you guys see in my highlights. Usually I can get 2 to 3 hit markers and hopefully get a knock. But anyways, 2x scope, I don't really use the scope too often, but I do have it set to 300. The 3x scope is at 205, which I very much like. It's at that nice ballpark, and I highly recommend you guys to practice your own sensitivities. If you guys just copy these sensitivities, you're not going to become like a very good player. You have to practice with it day in and day out and learn it. But these are the sensitivities that I play. Feel free to use it. Anyways, I have my 4x at 140. VSS is at 142. I don't really use the VSS that much, but I should. I should probably learn it. Anyways, the 6x scope is at 78 and the 8x is at 74. Now, I've came up from like 20% on the gyroscope for 8x to like 74%. So that's a pretty big boost, and that's mainly because I've been using gyroscope more often to aim and be precise with aiming. I have a few techniques that I'll probably add in a later video about a more in-depth guide with gyroscope, but for now that's the settings that I use. Anyways, auto pickup, I have both of these disabled. People who use auto pickup, I mean, feel free to use it, but I kind of feel actually, you know what, I was in a fight and there was this 2 vest, and if I had auto pickup on, I would have gotten it, but I was so busy with the fight I did not pick it up and I died. And maybe if I had auto pickup on, you know, I would have survived that fight. So sometimes it can be beneficial, sometimes it cannot. You know, especially if you're healing and your teammate drops you something. I've had a few instances where Kinge, he uses auto pickup. I dropped him like ammo and he was healing and it messed up his healing and stuff, so that can get crucial sometimes. But I have it disabled myself. I kind of like to pick up my own stuff, be super precise with it. But anyways, I just have this ammo. Pretty much with like competitive, you want a nice ratio of meds versus ammo versus a gas tank. If you're super far, you need a car with a gas tank especially, and just, you know, you want a lot of utility. You want like at least 10 smokes, and maybe 2 nades. That's like the ideal situation. Especially in these like bigger tournaments, having 5 nades is even better. So if you don't pick up like 300 5.6 but you pick up 10 smokes instead, that's all right. And I'll probably get into a video about you know, looting in professional PUBG Mobile, so I'll analyze some stuff with that as well, so stay tuned for that. But that's another upcoming video. I can just go through these really quickly. You can take a screenshot if you want to. Med kits 2, first aids 4, bandages 5. Especially if you're far away, you want at least 10 bandages to survive in the blue zone. Energy drinks 5. Painkillers, actually let me tune it down. Painkillers are not that good. They take up too much space and they take too long to cast, but Yeah, frag grenades 10, smoke grenades 10 or 5, sorry. And then here are my stuff for that. Sniper rifles, SMGs, shotguns, LMGs, pistols, and crossbows and stuff like that. But anyways, onto the scopes. So when I don't have a scope on, I like to have the I believe it's cyan. It's kind of light bluish. It kind of stands out the most against all of the other backgrounds, unless you're looking up at the sky, but usually you're not. I have this quick scope switch. Wow, that's a tongue twister. I have that enabled, and that is this one right here. It basically allows you to switch from your red dot to your 4x very quickly, and I love it. It's one of the best features that they added. So back to here, red dot, I have it set to the red colorway. Sometimes I mess around with the green one. I like the red most often though. And I have the triangle one. It's not really a full triangle, but it's not the red dot. And I like this one because it stands out the most when you're trying to hit those headshots. This one too, but it can kind of get freaky. So I like a nice and tight scope. And onto the holographic sight, I have it set to green. I'm kind of weird with these, but you know, they just stand out the most to me. And then with the 3x, I for some reason have the red instead of I switched it up, you know. Anyways, audio. You want to have your music set to the very lowest, because if you're in a car, sometimes the car audio will play. Actually, isn't there a setting? Music disabled. Okay, so if you have it disabled, you don't really have to disable the music, but I don't really like the in-game menu audio. I have master set to max, SFX set to max, and UI set to middle. And then your voice and audio, it depends on what headset you use and stuff like that, but I don't really use in-game comms, and so I don't really mess with it too often. But if my teammates are telling me to turn up my mic, I do it in here. So yeah, that's pretty much it. The training session has ended. Thank you so much for watching. This is my in-depth guide for sensitivities and stuff like that, and what my sensitivities are in general. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you guys like this video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on the push notifications, because we're slamming with some good content in the future as well. So thank you so much for watching. Peace out.